Guys, welcome back to Pointy Not Sharp. Today we're taking a look at another variation of the Turkish model 1935 Mauser bayonet. Now, there's a whole variety of these, but they're all made to fit the model of 1890 and 1893 Mauser style of rifles, as well as whatever they renamed all of their rifles in the 1930s when they started manufacturing new ones. Like they call them like the model 1935 or 30 or whatever. But these bayonets, pretty much all of them, were cobbled together from prior models, and this one here comes from the model 1903, which was a Ottoman Empire bayonet before the Ottoman Empire dissolved and became Turkey. You see, it's got a really thin blade profile. In my opinion, this is the best of the 35s. I have already covered off 2 or 3 of them, but this one is by far my favourite. Now, all of the Model 1903 bayonets were made by Simpson & Co. In Suhl, Germany, and they were made under contract for the Ottoman Empire. During the 1930s, they were converted by Ascari Fabrica, I think that's how it's pronounced, or abbreviated AS.FA, and you'll find that marked on most of the bayonets on the pommel and the rifles. And the modification here changed it from a Model 1903 to a Model 1935. And as I said, there are so many different versions of the 35s. They made some brand new with like a flatter style of blade. They cut down model 1890s, 1893s. And then they got all the German rifles, which they retooled as well, or modified. So your 8498s, your 9805s, and your 98s as well. Probably a lot more than that. There are literally endless variations to these Model 1935 bayonets. That said though, I'll jump into the construction. So the 1903 to begin with, it's essentially a Seitengewehr 98, which is a German bayonet, the blade, and then the handle is like the style of a 1890 Ottoman Empire bayonet. So they've mated the Ottoman Empire 1890 handle to the blade of a German 1898, Seitengewehr 98. Now, when these were converted to 35s, first thing they did was shorten the blade down to approximately, I think it's about 25 centimeters or 245 millimeters approximately. I think this one's just over, and I've seen some that have been just under as well, so it's a little bit rough. And then on top of that, they've also removed the hook quillen, which is a real shame because they're quite gorgeous. I love them. That said though, you can actually get these still with the hook quillens, so that's not always how they're done, but that's how they did this particular one. It's how you usually come across them as well. Now, the other thing they've done is they've replaced the scabbard. So originally these had a really long, beautiful leather scabbard. So what they've done is pretty much all of their 1935 bayonets, they introduced this really crap, poorly made sheet metal stamped scabbard. And as you can see, it's got a special mouth designed for this bayonet because the blade, while thin, it's not quite thick through the spine. But you'll see these scabbards popping up absolutely everywhere. And the only difference between this and any of the others is the mouth is designed for this particular bayonet. I will say this, it's a very sturdy bayonet, and of all the 1935s, I think it's probably the best because it's not terribly heavy. The blade is a really nasty, like I would not want to come up against this. It's obviously not a slashing weapon, but as a thrusting weapon, or even used as like a fighting dagger, this is really, really nice. A lot of bayonets are either designed purely as a thrusting weapon on the end of a rifle, or very heavily designed also as like a utility tool with wire cutters and sawbacks and things like that. This is pure and simply a thrusting weapon and not something that you just stick on a rifle. This would make a fantastic handheld fighting weapon as well. And you can't say that for most bayonets, but certainly the case for this one here. Now we'll jump into the markings. There aren't a terrible lot of markings that you come across these. So first and foremost, the original 1903 markings, you will sometimes come across those, and they're all in Ottoman Turk. So while these were made in Germany, the original markings were done in Ottoman Turk, and I believe it's the left ricasso, I can't remember which side, one of the sides, one of the ricassos, had the manufacturer's name and year of manufacture printed in Ottoman Turk, which looks like Arabic. During the modification to 1935, that is usually removed, but not always. As far as I can tell, these were only, the 1903s, only made by Simpson & Co. Saul. There were a couple of other German companies making the 1890s and 1887s, but you'll only get the one manufacturer marking. Now, the other markings you would have come across is you would have had, I forget what they call it, it's like a crest for the Sultan on the pommel. Again, I can't remember which side. That has been removed. And then you'll also find a whole bunch of inspection / proof mark kind of things. I'll call them inspection marks, and they're all in religious iconography. So you'll find like the Seal of Solomon and the Crescent Moon, and it's a lot more common that those survive. As you can see, I've got the Crescent Moon and the Seal of Solomon on the spine of the blade, and the Seal of Solomon just here at the tip of my thumb. But I couldn't find any others. But they stamp those on near every part, so it's pretty common that they miss them when they're refurbishing them to this pattern here. Now, in terms of the new markings, we really only have two. So I showed you one, and that was the manufacturer's mark just here on the right pommel, ASFA. I've also seen that long ways, not just vertical, I've also seen it horizontal. Yeah, that's a better way of doing it. And then you also have a serial number. This one has the serial number on the left pommel. Usually Turkish bayonets, the serial number is across the crossguard, so I don't know how that ended up there. That's more of like a Portuguese style, although wrong place for Portuguese, and obviously not a Portuguese bayonet. But those are the only markings you'll ever really come across. I know a lot of people aren't terribly interested in these Turkish bayonets, but there's just so many variations, and if you run down the rabbit hole, there's a lot to learn, and it actually gets pretty interesting. I believe Otto from ebayonets.com has a publication on online, or a CD publication about these bayonets, so it's probably worth getting and having a read. I actually bought a copy, and I accidentally threw it in the bin before I could open it and read it, so that was a real shame. Anyway guys, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.